Call the meeting to order. Call this meeting to order. Please rise for the flag salute. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Just let everybody know Mr. Bruce will be a little late tonight. The Triton baseball team is a playoff game. The second one in 34 years.
Wow.
Well,
It's tied.
It's tied?
It's tied 5-5 in the seventh.
Is that what you were looking at?
So he'll be in the second one.
Wow. 5-5, bottom of the sixth.
5-5 bottom of the seventh. All right, so roll call, please.
Mayor Papanis.
Here.
Mrs. Passio. Here. Mr. Ranieri.
Yes.
Mr. Lobenstein.
Here.
Mr. Farrell.
Here.
Mrs. Kelly. Here. Mr. Wood is,
Running late.
it's not, it's Mr. Wood.
Here.
Mr. Wood. And Mr. Basor.
Here.
And Mr. Diori.
Here.
Okay. Public notice of this meeting pursuant to the Open Public Meetings Act has been given by the clerk in the following manner. One, posted on the bulletin board in the Borough Clerk's office on January 3rd, 2019. And two, emailed to the retrospective Borough Post on January 3rd, 2019. First order of business we have is Resolution 1957, which is a resolution certifying compliance with the United States Equal Employment Opportunity Commission's enforcement guidance on the consideration of arrests and conviction records and employment decisions under Title VII of the Civil Rights Act of 1964. Wow. Would someone like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Motion by Ms. Passio, second by Mr. Farrell. Any other discussion? I'm assuming this came from,
This came from Bowman. It's a requirement for the introduction of everyone's budget.
okay. All right then.
I have a name for it, but
No problem. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Passio. Yes. Mrs. Kelly. Yes. Mr. Farrell.
Yes.
Mr. Lobenstein.
Yes.
And Mr. Ranieri.
Yes.
All right, the resolution is adopted. Resolution 1958 is an introduction of the 2019 municipal and sewer budgets. I'm going to turn this over to the CFO. Put your CFO hat on for just a second and just explain to everybody what we're doing in the process and the final introduction, or excuse me, the adoption. When that is, it has to be recorded.
Gentlemen, want to pass the affidavit around that they will have to sign for that,
Okay.
that resolution.
Okay.
If you could each sign that you know that we observe these rules.
here?
Yep, and just pass, but there's two of them. Sign both and then just pass them out.
Okay, thank you, Mayor, Council. It's a good day. We're introducing our 2019 budget. A lot of work went in it, a lot of collaboration with department heads and council, and we have a really good budget this year. And the best part of it is we were able to do, as we talked about in all our council meetings, all the wonderful things that we do throughout the town, our roads, our services, our parks. We were able to continue with the services and improve in certain areas for minimal tax increases in the borough. So we're very proud of this introduced budget, and we're looking forward to the adoption at our next caucus meeting on June 25th. We'll have a public hearing.
So on the 25th is the public hearing.
June 25th.
Okay.
Public hearing. And at that time, we'll be adopting the budget, and that would be great.
Okay. Anything with the sewer? You want to talk about the sewer budget?
The sewer utility is included in this budget, and it's pretty much kind of the same as last year. It's a good budget. It also maintains the services that we are providing. It actually
no increase in the sewer.
increases the services.
But there's no increase.
No increase in the sewer revenues, appropriations. Everything is consistent. Any other questions?
Anything else? Keep it simple because we're going to have our public hearing. Okay, so at this point, is there a motion for the introduction?
I make
Go ahead, John.
a motion for the introduction of the budget.
And I'll second that.
Motion by Mr. Ranieri, second by Ms. Passio. Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Passio?
Yes.
Mrs. Keller?
Yes.
Mr. Farrell?
Yes.
Mr. Lobenstein?
Yes.
And Mr. Ranieri?
Yes.
All ayes, my absent.
All right, the resolution is adopted. New business discussion for this meeting. Public hearing ordinance 1904, 5, and 6. So we're going to do that at the council meeting. So those were the recommendations from our construction department. Mr. Root and Mr. Knight came up with some tweaks to the current ordinance, following more of what the state's doing with certain things on the construction aspect, starting to make things a little bit clearer, a little bit easier. Nothing I felt that, right, we all discussed that everything was very clean.
That
So,
was 04 and 05. The 6 is the Cali Court ordinance. I was told by
Oh.
Mr. Long that we could that I could advertise and we could do the public hearing. When, do you know otherwise, if anything's been resolved?
It has not yet been resolved, he sent left me some notes. He's still working on it, trying to get that thing satisfied here and in Barrington, prior to adoption of the ordinance. We may have to table it for a month, but I anticipate us getting there, so I'm suspecting that you're not going to get it done.
okay, so we just
So take
advertise
6
again?
off of there?
Is it advertised now?
Yeah, it's advertised.
How do you want you advertise, what do you do?
But
You have to re-advertise.
Okay, that's fine.
But what I'll do is talk to him either tomorrow or Friday, and have, one of us will get back to you if he may get resolved between
Okay,
to this
before
conversation.
Wednesday.
Before next week.
So just let everybody know what the issue was. There are 2 tax liens, and those tax liens should be satisfied prior to the borough taking, responsibility of the pump station, which will also lead us into taking responsibility of the street, because the street's not even dedicated to us either. I don't know if you realize that. The street. Okay, so you remember this, the street, Mr. Bayshore, the street, the only thing we were responsible for at this point is the street lights, if you recall. The street lights are the only thing we're responsible for, but not the street, not the sewer. So those two liens were the one issue. And then there was another issue just because of the meets and bounds of where things are located. We're going to make sure that's very clear, because the property straddles Barrington and Runnemede, but I don't particularly think it's too big of a deal. There's no real wall down the middle of the...
So we'll be discussing all 3?
Well, once they're resolved by our legal staff, I think council's attitude has been, if we get this resolved, we'll move on.
Yes.
If it's not, if the can't get resolved, I mean, like I said, the tax liens have to, somebody has to pay the tax liens.
Is there pushback?
I don't recall, I've not made any phone calls, and I've not received any
Is it a
phone
lot
calls.
of money?
$2,000.
How much?
2,000. Well, you divide it by 9
I was
houses,
just going to say, that's not that
you know,
much.
$200 a house.
We were on our way to some kind of a solution, right? Nick?
We were.
We were on our way to some kind of resolution.
Yes.
We had them there.
Always there.
And because we found out that it borders Barrington and Runnemede, did that change anything?
That's a minor issue. The bigger issue is the tax liens.
Which we came across, it's got to resolve. That's really their challenge, resolve
So
that.
title searches.
Once that's done, it's tabled till that's done, then it comes back to us.
Yeah, now, as for where the property lines are, Mr. Long has made it clear that there are other instances where properties straddle 2 municipalities. And, remember, our agreement is basically to maintain the retention basin and the sewer system, which it benefits us. If that sewer system fails, it's going to be on Runnemede. You agree with that statement, that if something goes wrong, you might say, well, it's the residents' fault, but it's still in our town. We're still going to have some.
So that is in Runnemede, that's not in
What's it
Barrington.
down?
Part of the property. The way the cul-de-sac was, the way the cul-de-sac,
Anything that we're going to take control of or take responsibility for in Barrington.
potentially, yes,
Well, we-
The pump station is in
and
Barrington.
part of the grass.
So why would we?
Because,
Why would we?
because the pump pumps into Runnemede. Yes.
So you-
I'll listen to council on this.
I think you're probably going to need easement.
Well, we would, all this land would become ours. We would actually own the land.
So Barrington, so who owns it now?
Property, the homeowner association. So the homeowner association,
Actually, that one that got straightened out. that was-
yes, the homeowner association would transfer all property ownership to the borough.
Right, okay.
The borough, I mean, I drew this kind of rudimentary,
Right, so
but
we're going to need an actual legal, a hard legal from our engineers, which will, parcel A, which is, And you'll define right in this 1D document, but you'll define right what's in what each town. Can you record it?
But you understand, it pumps into Runnemede, so regardless where it is, it pumps into our town.
I understand better now.
Yeah, and the way the development was approved, it was approved
But if
between the
somebody,
two
but if
towns.
somebody tells me that Barrington bears some responsibility, I'll be like, okay,
That's not
great,
happening.
get the money up, that's what I'll say.
No, the only thing is there may be a tax lien in Barrington, we want to make sure that gets paid. Do you know what that,
How do we
Joyce?
find that out?
That I don't know.
We don't know, we're gonna double check that they don't owe any taxes on that little parcel. Oh,
What,
definitely.
you doing a title search, some kind of
Yeah,
search?
that's what Mr. Long said.
Yeah.
That's-
And you didn't find a lien from Barrington?
I would see.
Well, we don't know yet.
I don't think it's bad.
We only found out recently about all these little things. But we're getting closer, and once again, the logic here is that it is a small station. We set the standards of how the pump should be built. Now, everybody can argue that the standards should have been
Can
different.
I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Who's taking care of the pump station now?
Nobody.
We would,
Yeah,
we
where
would.
we're from.
How do we know what we're getting?
Mr.
He
Williams.
inspected it already. That's been resolved. That's been resolved. They gotta get it up to standards before we
Mr.
take it over.
Bayshore, they went out and did all this legwork before we got to this legal side. Because we didn't want to look at it if they weren't going to fix the generator, if they weren't going to fix the pump, if they weren't going to meet the standards.
I just wanna make sure that if there's a responsibility that Barrington bears in cost,
No.
they should.
There's not.
Okay.
It's just, it'd be almost like a piece of ground. It's all this is a piece of grass. But you understand all that, right? It's different. So we're going to table, or you want to just wait till Tuesday? Shouldn't we wait till Wednesday to make a final decision?
Yeah, you can wait.
Okay, fine. Authorization for clerk to sign application for New Jersey State Firemen's Association. Joyce?
We do that all the time. It's that,
Is that paper? Did she get
Find
that
it in
paper?
here.
The clerk has to sign it, is that what it is?
I have to sign it.
Do you need a resolution from council?
You have that pen, Jim?
Just request authorization, this thing.
Does someone want to make a motion
You
to?
signed it. You can all sign it,
Wait till we need it.
You know,
Is he coming tonight?
You don't need to.
okay, so we'll get it done. Is there any, no saying we're not going to be part of the New Jersey Firemen's Association? Everybody agrees. Okay, first reading ordinance structure of police department. So the big change for the police department, as everyone is aware, is that it'll be a reduction of a sergeant and the increase of a captain. So the staffing doesn't change, it's just the structure of how they operate day to day.
So we have the chief, we have 2 captains, and we have 3 sergeants.
Yes, patrol stays the same.
Do you have that ordinance for us to look at?
Is there a rough draft, or was that the only change, Joyce?
I can show you exactly what it's gonna look like.
We're not doing it tonight.
For next week, right?
I know that we did.
I think it's just crossing one line out and adding.
I just want to make
This is
sure
exactly
because
what it's gonna look like, Eleanor, only with those changes in it.
Now, there's going to be one other thing that's going to be added to that. Will be a simple agreement with the 2 captains, because they'll be out of the contract once they get their promotions.
Yeah, I know.
So Lou Ross, our legal counsel who did the police contract, is going to summarize the major changes that happened in the contract that affect the officers that are moving up. We'll make sure it's all very clear. And there's nothing in there that wasn't already agreed to. So it's not like we're changing anything. The fact of the matter is they just move out of the contract. So it needs to be something that says.
But there's nothing in this ordinance.
In the ordinance, I don't think we want to put all that in the ordinance. I think a separate
But
resolution.
what about the
who's the
resolution?
responsible party here? I mean, the mayor was before, I don't see that in here.
The appointing authority is the mayor's on another, it's in
On a
another
different
ordinance.
ordinance.
Oh, a different ordinance.
Yeah, the appropriate authority.
The appropriate
Different
authority, yeah.
ordinance.
This
Okay, I'm
clause
good.
or clauses, will that be in the actual appointment
No,
resolution?
no, it'd probably be beforehand or
Okay.
something with some.
Yeah, that's good.
Did you get in touch with Lou?
I did, he actually called me from Jordan.
Oh.
There's a, he's in
Wow.
Israel, from Israel, he went over to Jordan. And, so he said he's back, actually today.
Who's this?
This is Lou Rosner, who
Oh,
did
okay.
the police contract, and he actually responded to my email and said that he would boil it down to, only the issues that affect the 2
Can
captains.
I speak for one
Sure.
second? I just want everybody to know, council and everybody here, that just explain, I know we haven't had 2 captains before, but myself and Sergeant, I'm sorry. Myself and Sergeant Murray is going to continue to do the same duties that we are doing now. I will, for the foreseeable future, continue, I will work as a captain, doing all the administrative stuff that a captain does,
but I will be acting as like a sergeant, as still running a shift, as doing administrative duties, as well as Sergeant Murray will continue to do captain duties and act as like a sergeant captain of the detective bureau. So we're not going to be them type of administrators that just maybe sit in the office. We're still going to continue to be out on the street. He continues to run the detective bureau. So nothing's going to change since what we've been doing September 1st of last year.
So we like to call it a working pattern.
Yes.
So the duties don't change, so that's why this little agreement, because it is kind of unique to have this administrative person who's also running a shift, because we need somebody to run the day shift. And so they agreed to it, so I think it's a positive for everybody.
Mayor?
Yes,
The 10 patrolmen, that has not changed,
that
correct?
has not changed.
I have a question. Down the line, in the near future, we're not going to need another sergeant.
Well, the plan probably going forward next year when we I spoke to the mayor about this, when we potentially hire another full-timer, then we would probably promote another sergeant, then I would come off the street and work nights as an administrative captain. So I would stay on the street, but an 8-hour shift at night. So I will separate myself from Sergeant Murray. So as the patrol commander, I want to work with the day work, but with the night work too, in the sense that it helps the way the jail runs now with the transportation. There's mandatory arrests that have to be made where if you only have 2 guys working, one has to go take somebody to jail, it leaves a guy. If I make my schedule at night, if we have to send a guy, we'll have to call somebody in for overtime. I can answer calls with the guy that's still in town. So it works well like that
And it
too.
all based on other things, obviously. There's potential retirements, there's potential other things. There's a lot of things going on in the background. Money, all these things.
So in other words, Bill,
He's going to help us out anyway.
you're gonna help keep the overhead down with the promotion.
That was one of myself and Sergeant Murray's in meetings with Mr. Dioria. He approached this and we've come up with some good ways to keep the overtime down. Like one was Patrolman Nolan was working all week, all month. Him and Sergeant Burns' wife. Patrolman Wooten was out injured. Instead of bringing somebody in for overtime, I worked on my day off over there, flexed my schedule, so I worked with Sergeant Burns, so we didn't pay overtime. So we have a really good, strong game plan with that.
Great.
So instead of switching a day off.
As a captain, as a sergeant, I can flex my schedule. I'm going to I can move myself around.
Put your eyes on the overhead.
Exactly.
Good.
Okay, that's cool. Okay, so first reading of the ordinance instruction of the police department, resolution promoting the sergeants, resolution approving liquor licenses. Is that all but one this year?
Well, that's gone. We only have 7 liquor licenses.
We have 7.
Yeah, but to tell you the truth, not every establishment is paid, and they can't be approved until they pay their fee.
And if they don't pay, then what happens?
Well, then they're going to have to wait till a longer time, and they might have to wait until July.
They could not have a license.
Should we approach them?
There's a new procedure
You got that?
where they have to pay. And they've all filed online.
So all 7 filed online.
They filed online, but they have not all paid. If anyone knows who hasn't paid, the vault hasn't paid, the mile hasn't paid, and VFW hasn't paid, so they have to come in and take care of that to be placed on the,
Let her go out.
Well, no, you understand, they know what they're supposed to do.
yes,
I
they were
understand.
Because
notified.
remember, the state sort of took a little bit away from us now. Everything's done electronically, which is
Correct.
new.
Did they know
But
that?
they still don't listen, so Joyce has emailed them twice and told them that they will not be on the.
Joyce directly, I mean, this has been for years, it's always, the
Yes.
vault's been, for years we've done this. You know, they should know this. The VFW, it's been around a little longer
Well, I
than me.
mean, like the vault and mile, they really can't afford.
Well,
this.
you know what I think the confusion is,
That once they file online.
they
can
file
have it
online, you
on
pay the fee to the state, right, credit card online, but it says right in the instructions that they get, now you must go to your municipality and pay the municipal fee.
They think
I
only the
can already-
state fee.
Yeah, correct, but I can't, but it's explained to them, and this goes on every year.
Every year.
If I'm in either one, I'll mention it.
Absolutely. Okay. Resolution authorizing lease with the Runnemede School District. So the school district already signed the lease.
It's on, we have to put
That's
that
on for tonight, because we would have had
Because
that.
Jim needs it for the budget.
Okay.
So it's 1950, resolution 1959.
Okay, 1959. Okay. Resolution authorizing lease agreement with the Runnemede Board of Education for the use of the office space in the Borough of Runnemede Municipal Building. If anybody's been upstairs, the rough plumbing is done. Correct. All the walls are built. It's coming along.
I have stuff on the file cabinet, but
All the cabinets were all moved out, and they are
where they go storage.
in the storage rooms.
I'll go find it.
So if you go in the storage room, it's in there. They're locked.
Yeah, my drawer was on.
Yes. So is there a motion to approve?
Wait, before we do anything, I was at the board meeting.
I
You
heard.
should do the motion first, and then you can.
I'll make a motion.
I heard that. You might have to start going with you to these meetings.
What did she do?
Oh, I'm going to start going with you.
I didn't
I'm going to sit next to you. Maybe Len should start going with you.
I gave him a hard time. But that's beside the point. It's beside the point.
I'll make a motion.
All right, what's your point?
Second motion.
So-
I'm talking about the motion until something.
Well,
They keep saying they're gonna be in by July 1st, and they look at
Excuse
me
me, hold
whenever
on.
they say that. Now, I'm shaking my head going, yes. Are they gonna be in July 1st?
did I say they're going to be on July 1st?
Yes, you
Then
did.
they will be on July 1st.
Okay.
I second that motion.
Motion by Mr. Ranieri, second by Ms. Mansell. Any other discussion? Anybody want to talk now?
It's all looking good.
Okay.
I want to thank Joyce for putting that on the.
Thank you, Joyce.
Thank you, Joyce.
Okay, so motion by Mr. Ranieri, second by Ms. Passio. Roll call, please.
Mr. Ranieri.
Yes.
Mrs. Keller.
Yes.
Mrs. Passio.
Yes.
Mr. Lobenstein.
Yes.
And Mr. Farrell.
Yes.
Five
The
ayes, one
resolution is adopted. Just on that note, once again, Ms. Keller, I do hear everything that goes on, and I never call you, I defend you, but it's tough. Because I don't even know what you said. We'll talk later.
I spoke at length about the week we spent with the
The
children.
youth, I heard.
Yes.
I heard you. Okay, resolution authorizing property maintenance liens, are there a lot?
I received them today, it's about 4 or 5.
Okay. So we don't need to do that now, we'll do that at the meeting. Resolution refunding for a portion of first quarter taxes due to totally disabled vet designation, that's just an accounting thing. And then discussion of easements. What was that?
I know nothing about these, maybe someone can tell
Is that
me.
maybe?
These-
Well, maybe it's this, so apparently we're drafting easements for Orchard Avenue and Carroll Avenue, we think the work that needs to be done.
Yes, okay, so we found 2 more pipes that need to be worked on, but we don't own the land or have an easement to do work on people's properties.
That's our whole sewer system.
I believe, is it possible, because this has happened too frequently. It happened on Bassett, it's happened on Singley, it's now happened on Rambler. Is it possible? And Joyce, I don't know if you were around when the sewer authority was dissolved. Could have all these easements been in the sewer authority's name?
But we still find them.
They would still show up on a title screen.
Absolutely. Absolutely, they were still showing.
Because the only other thing is when the borough dissolved the authority and assumed everything, what I've noticed is on our tax maps and things like that, they still don't say, they say sewer authority. They don't even say the borough. So is it possible that this stuff, or you're still saying they would have been recorded at the county? It doesn't matter who.
Bassett Avenue was, it doesn't matter who the easement, so if there's an easement, let's just see.
It's me and him,
And so you give him an easement,
it's got to be.
and 50 years later, I take over you. Easement's still there.
It's still there. Doesn't matter.
It runs with the land, as they say.
So even with the
It doesn't matter. So it's just
dissolving
run.
the authority.
But I'm going to guess that it doesn't show. I'm going to guess that it's not there. Because at some point, somebody would have said something. They're getting title reports, these people are buying houses, they're getting mortgages, especially, here's this, now it's a normal thing, but what was the one that who took us forever?
Bassett was unbelievable.
I mean, that had a major impact realistically on the property.
The 2 property owners.
So, so I think the lender would have said, wait a minute. But apparently nobody said anything. These 2 people didn't know anything about it until there was a problem. So I have the bad feeling that we don't have. So one of the things that we may want to consider in the short/long term actually start looking and identifying where we don't have them and just kind of, and then start to create them, because otherwise,
That's good.
well, you know, we went through that, I mean.
Is there a cost factor on all there? Is that part of your mapping? Does that include all these pipes that are running between these properties?
On the side or west side.
The west side. But does it wouldn't show a title search though. So we'd have to take the initiative. He's got all the maps. We'd still have to go there, and what would we have to physically go to the county? And
Well, you can.
Well, you know what I mean, somebody-
Hire somebody. And I don't know if this is doable, but it just pops into my head that maybe there's a way to search for easements under the Runnemede sewage, maybe because it's all, most of this is electronic, right? The filings are electronic, so if it's electronically stored, they might be able to, you know, just short circuit it and be able to search under the name, so to speak, and see what comes up. So if you want us to follow.
because you're saying Orchard and Rambler, that means that's continuing up the rest of the block, right? It just keeps going.
But you have two, you have the sanitary sewer that we just did the slip lining on it last year, the year before, and this is the storm sewer. So storm sewer wasn't under the utility, so it's totally different.
So that, you're right, these were stormwater.
This issue is stormwater.
This is stormwater.
And the problem, the issue may become, us having the easements is a no-brainer, it's really almost the easement.
Well, people should want us to.
That's right. However, in order for us to perfect it, we have to describe the easement. So Mark, you know, is going to go on a really long vacation to Lake Borough, because every one of them has to be surveyed and described.
Oh, my God.
And then we have to create a document that grants the easement.
Well, we started the mapping process.
Yeah, and each, so the easement over here, I have to do a deed of easement from you to, deed of easement from you to, deed of easement from you. It could be an enormous undertaking if there aren't.
We can identify, or through our mapping, these few pipes that are running perpendicular through blocks, right? You know, that the stormwater and the sewer you're talking about cuts through all those blocks parallel to Smith Lane.
Yes, we already did a windshield assessment of all the properties that we have pipes that run through the borough. And I want to say it was 47 last year.
They went through 47 properties. We're on number 4.
And we had the one issue that was never resolved from when we did the slip line, where we had the shed built over top of the manhole.
Oh, I remember that.
That was never resolved.
You're kidding.
No. I got a house over top of a storm pipe now on Rampart Avenue.
That was a different one, because the other one had a shed, the one we worked out.
The shed, we had to remove it.
We have a sanitary manhole that a shed is beneath.
Yeah, that was not me. I was passing out. I didn't take care of this one. Where's that?
And we also have on Payne Avenue, we had a guy who put a driveway in over top of the pipe we just replaced. Because zoning, they don't have the easement.
Well, the zoning, it was, he was in violation. He put the driveway in without getting a permit.
Yes.
You know, my attitude towards that though is that stormwater, that'll be 100 years before. You know, we just need a piece of paper that says if we have to cut up that asphalt. You know, what's that?
I think that's one of the houses.
It is being foreclosed on. So I don't even know how we deal with that one.
Well, he's still, you deal with it now, but he's still the owner. You don't want to have to deal with it.
Because if it transfers, it's going to be another fight, huh?
Yeah, you're going to deal with that. They'll never get any answers.
Well, he's got an open permit then right now. He's got a violation, so. Town's been doing, banks have been doing a good job of calling our construction department, asking if there's any open
Mary Jo said.
problems. That's been something new.
For the one that's low?
Yeah, they're now
Oh,
asking.
yeah, that's smart of them to do
She
that.
said.
Yeah, so, okay, we'll have to make sure Payne Avenue, we don't have a problem with Payne. Okay, so the easements are we looking for legal descriptions so that we get these people to sign?
You must have some.
We already,
John did easements for Orchard and Ranch.
two properties.
So
we
are we sending letters to the property owners for them to sign
I
it?
have the paperwork, but it's only a 30-day right of repair. And we haven't had a discussion or anything, nobody responded back for the cost factor, what we're going to do moving forward. We're going to repair it, or we keep our eyes closed and hope for the best.
Excuse me, Mr. Mayor, I have to leave. I have a banquet to go to.
So what we did.
I was wondering why you were dressed your
Yeah,
She really, like, it's a council meeting tonight, and I don't.
It's just temporary.
I've
So you
signed
can-
it.
Then I saw John with his t-shirt, but then he doesn't.
Bring my 30 days.
I haven't told you that.
We definitely know.
Sorry, guys, I'm sorry, guys, I'm not on it, or I would have reminded you.
I come to it.
It did come to me.
Like it is, I gotta-
Claim me, I would never know.
I need you to know the real me.
Why would we only get a 30-day easement? Why would we not go for the full-blown, just
You do the work and then you file back for full easement.
is that the legal way to do it?
You can do it simultaneously, but it's, you know, now they're cooperating, so it'll be.
Why would they just? But then they can't build anything on it, but we would argue they can't build anything on it anyway.
Well, I think that the first thing that we would want to do, for example, is give all these people notice who have properties that we should have easements on them, and give them a general idea of where they are, just to
A
form
little halo.
And I would also, and I would have every one of those letters in the zoning planning office attached to these properties, so if things come up, they know.
They're going to build a garage.
Even though we may not have a formal easement yet, we're moving in that direction, and we don't want to have to be dealing with the issue of people, you know, having their houses.
Yeah, what a mess. Okay, so discussion of easements, that's the two, takes care of the two repairs. Now, we're only doing repairs at this point, correct?
Yes.
And you're going to take pictures. Put it on the list. On the list. So one more discussion of one other easement. So I've been here now, for 10 years, we've been talking about the land behind the acme. So the engineer had given us a proposal to set the monuments. I'd like to have council basically, just a voice vote to approve the engineer to set the monuments. So I think what the monuments will do for us, will start to delineate the property lines. We can see where things are.
Just the property that we've been talking to the school district.
Yes. So I'm tired of dealing with the school district.
When that started.
I'm gonna make it cat.
Yeah, but, so the idea here is that the Bay Shore, Bach Associates gave us a proposal to set the monuments. What that will do for us, it'll help at least the property owners, all the people in that area know where things are. I think what's going to end up happening in the long run is the schools very hesitant to do things. I'd like to see us basically grant easements to the property owners so they have some type of buffer, and then grant easement to the school for their use. So we're going to lead the charge on this, trying to get the school to be the front runner. The lead just didn't work out.
You don't want to just say.
We do, but we want to give it to them as a form of an easement.
I get it, we still have.
Yes.
There's something, why you just don't want to give it.
Because we believe that there is a deed restriction, and how would we just give someone land
Because there
without
might be a
vacating
restriction
it?
About house.
You remember, there was some.
It's fuzzy.
It is fuzzy. Well,
Okay, so that makes sense.
I look at it because the school is a similar use as us,
Right.
government, but at the same time, there's not the same, you can't have a buffer between property owners.
Yeah, no, it's the smart.
You know,
But
so
you have to, they all have to want it.
They do.
Because they have to be, they gotta be responsible.
They will
They
be.
can't.
They will be.
That's the key, but that's good because they all want it. That
They
makes
do
sense.
it.
But then
Even the school
we,
wants
then
it.
the borough still owns it.
On paper, it's an easement.
We own it, so.
Just like the
they're
people
not-
with the pipes.
They're using it, they're maintaining it, they're not paying
Bless you.
us on it.
Right.
We don't run into any potential problems with violation of deed restrictions.
It's clean. And
Except
so,
monuments law.
you know, we don't have to maintain the property anymore, the residents are already sort of using it anyway, the school
How
can.
much of it are they going to be?
They just get a portion just to square the property off. It's different in some, you know, if you remember the properties, all it does is basically gives a ground all the way around the perimeter, except for the acme. The acme doesn't need
Right.
any buffer.
Just the backyards of
Just
all
the-
these people, the side yards of one. Just want to do with that.
It's a little more on the side yards, the further back, it's not as much. And,
10 feet, it's not big. We walked
I
it
love
multiple
it. I
times,
love it.
actually.
it's an interesting piece of property, but if you recall, one of the biggest problems was the residents who lived there complained about the activities that were going on there. So our predecessors removed the basketball courts, they removed all the different things, you know.
So they'll be able to put fencing?
It really comes down to fencing.
Yeah.
And the school, the issue that
If you
came
don't put
up,
fencing, you're gonna have the same problem yourself.
the issue that came up with the school was, if the property owners put fences up at their edge, and the school puts their fence up, who maintains the grass in between the two fences?
Mhm.
And I see.
First of all, that would be stupid to have two fences.
Well, you probably will have two fences,
A school district.
but it happens all in the school district.
Well,
Maintains it.
that's to answer your question.
They didn't want to do it.
Well, I don't blame them, I would want to do it.
Oh my God, they got a $30 million budget, that's right, they could spray some,
And this
vinegar.
is an easement.
Yes,
Okay.
Epsom
And
salt,
there's
vinegar, and
And they
dog.
put a fence over here in the school district, so there's a foot between the
There's
fences.
not gonna be a fight,
Well,
it's just gonna be two fences. Because the property owners more than likely are gonna put privacy fences up. The school's gonna put up their normal school fence, chain link 6-foot fence.
You know,
It's not a perfect world.
it's, the agreement with the school district,
Do
the
you ever
agreement
see-
with the owners is going to say, this is, here's the description, what you have an easement, this is it, 6 by 10 by 50, whatever the hell it is, and you're absolutely responsible to maintain it. The school district will be giving to them, the easement to them, whatever, however we're going to do it the same way. They are absolutely responsible.
Yeah.
So then the school district, let people figure it out.
Yeah, I'd like to see
Not
the
very-
property owners put their fences up first, and let the school district do what they want to do.
That would make the most sense, but maybe the property owners aren't going to do that.
I think that there's only 4, I think it's gonna be
All
fine.
right.
It's gonna be fine. But I mean, it's already been a benefit by closing, and the police are still here today, right? Sergeant, by closing off that access behind the Acme, we've had a lot less vacancy issues.
Yes.
Have we? Yes?
Yeah, we're not back there like chasing people as much.
Those days are over,
Yeah.
chasing people between the Acme and the
Yeah.
neighborhoods. People leaving the Acme, cutting through the
I can't
problem.
remember the last call I got personally or anything I read on the reports for that.
Yeah, and we did that how long ago? It's been a year since we closed that out. What's that?
So used to love cutting through people's trucks.
You know what? People were different back then. What am I to tell you?
I know.
So can I get a motion to approve the engineer to set the monuments?
I'll second that motion.
So motion by Mr. Lobenstein, second by Ms. Passio, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, you got that?
What was the form?
The sooner the better.
Approved?
You'll need a PO from the engineer. Or, CFO.
Was there a resolution
Whatever your type is. It's just a voice, there's no resolution.
Approve the engineer to
Set
set
the
the
line.
boundaries?
The boundaries with monuments. States, what do you guys do? You drive like a pin
A
in the ground?
monument.
Usually read one with the cat.
Yeah, that's fine. And that'll
I
help
have
us.
a little cherub on the top.
Yes, I'll just,
Okay.
I'll post to the monument.
So we're gonna pause for the rest of this, we'll go around the room now. Okay, so let's go to council people. Ms. Passio, would you like to report anything?
Oh, let's see, we did have our Memorial Day services, which, very nice turnout. It was very nice. We honored Chief Joseph Kessler. He was a Marine and in World War II, and I think it turned out very nice, and I know his wife was very happy, and so was his son Brian. Yeah, that's nice. Also, I guess our coming up events will be, please don't forget June 1st, which is the Runnemede Fire Company's car show, which will begin on Saturday at noon to 4 at the fire station. And then June 2nd is the Runnemede Fire Company's Spring Festival, and it'll begin on Sunday at 11 a.m. And our newsletter. Anything with the newsletter? Has it been, you're done?
I told them.
Did anything get sent over, do you know, to our, Larry? Because I did talk to
Has
him.
everything, you just get to it.
Okay, and then he's gonna let me look at it because we have to put those.
Would you call him?
Mm-hmm.
Let me call him, he's got it in his possession. and he'll-
Okay, yeah, okay, a little push, and then we'll hopefully get it out
Do
by
we want to eliminate a couple of those lines, or just leave them? I thought before we leave them in there, but we-
a couple of what lines?
some of the activities that have already happened before the newsletter goes out.
We can,
I'm just asking.
we
Does
can,
anybody
or
think
just
that's a
leave it.
problem?
We
Leave
can,
them in there and
I
people
think-
say,
I-
"Missed the
let's
car
just-
show?"
let's
I don't think
just-
that's terrible. that they-
let's just leave it in there
That's fine.
anyway, yeah, so they'll know what we've been doing. It's a part of what we did do. And it's really gonna be a great newsletter. It's full of information, and I think everyone will enjoy it. It will go out to all the households, hopefully by next 2 weeks, within 2 weeks.
Hope so.
Yeah, me too. Sure. I don't know if that's the last one. And with that, progress.
Progress? Oh, that was easy. Mr. Ranieri?
Thank you, Mayor, Council. Good evening, everybody. Should I use the mic?
Sure.
Things that I was going to talk about has already been touched on.
I wanted to thank Harry, Tom, and Hank for taking care of business at our memorial service. Everything went really well. Business, yes, business as usual in Public Works Department. Patty talked about our newsletter going out. I'm very proud of this newsletter, very informative. Please make Patty or myself aware when you do get it so that we know you got it, because a large percentage of the town doesn't get it. So I like to say 6 council people. How many got it? There's our ratio, so let me know. I already talked to Harry about an issue I had with one of our residents with some of our vegetation on a bike path growing over into her fence, and she had asked me, what's our responsibility? I got the answer. She's allowed to cut down as much of it as she wants, and that's where we stand on that, right?
Once it goes over her property line,
She can cut back anything on her property line and her property.
and we have an obligation to do the best we can to maintain our side, but if it's a wild area.
It's a wild area, right? Is that how it's referred to, if it's a wild area? It's hairy, right? It's a little hairy.
Natural
How do you get
It's
this
a natural
something?
habitat.
Her property line runs to infinity up. So she
Okay.
can cut anything that crosses over that line.
All right, so I can handle that. Tomorrow, I will be attending the Arts Mural Tank Competition in Atlantic City. We are competing for $5,000. There were 43 challengers. We knocked down about 37 of them. We're going up against 4 towns. They are Washington Township, Woodbury, Ventnor, and Camden, and Runnemede.
That's amazing.
And we plan on winning this thing, so I'm going. Is despite I'm short-handed and everything else, but I think I should be there because it's an all-day learning experience for me as well, about financing, Main Street, art program, integrating
Where's this taking place?
Atlantic City.
I know, but where?
I'll share all the information with everybody,
What building?
but wish us luck because we want to come back a winner.
Where? Absolutely, we're gonna wish.
I have the address somewhere. I don't know, somewhere in Atlantic City.
Casino.
I don't think so. Doesn't matter to me. So anyhow, wish us luck. And I think Public Works had one change. I don't know if anybody saw that. For our summer hours have changed from Memorial Day to Labor Day. All your recycles, yard waste, have that out at 6 a.m. because we're going to be starting early, getting the crew out there early. I guess it was 8 before, now it's 6. Oh, it was 7? Okay, so that's the only change we have. And I'm going to say, I can't believe that's it, but the rest is progress.
Can I add something to you?
Sure.
All right, I had an opportunity to meet with Gary Finger.
Okay.
New Jersey Clean Energy Company. And we had a nice conversation, and he explained the whole process to me. It's a great process. It's a good opportunity to get an energy audit, is what it's called. Don't know what the results of it would be, but we're accumulating the data. We have an application. I already have copies of all the PSE&G invoices. They were already made. And Sergeant Sampolsky, I got to give credit. I did send an email to Kelly and Kirsten, who took the time out of their day to scan all the bills and send them to me for preparation.
We have been.
So
Thank you.
We're way ahead of where we.
That's awesome. Fantastic. Thank you, Jim. I appreciate that. So that's going to be very helpful to us. And I'm just going to go back to something, the Firemen's Fair, the fair, right? On the 2nd. The art committee, we're going to have a mural. We made a portable mural and also 4x8. We're going to be doing a live mural at the farmers market or at the festival. And it's going to be some of Triton's top students. Just a little sample of what we're going to be doing in town through the duration of the fair, and it'll be finished at the end. And then we're also having a 4x8 blackboard that we made, also positioned, and we're going to just, getting the town's thoughts about Main Street. What do you think will be successful? Well, how do you envision the Black Horse Pike? What kind of shops and vendors do you think? Just get some ideas and get the community involved. So if you're going to make it up there, check out the booth. It's going to be a good time. And the rest is progress.
I will say it's very exciting that Runnemede is, you understand this Shark Tank mentality? They're doing a presentation in front of a group of people, and I will say this, the talent that's in this community is tremendous. It's just getting people to step up and do stuff is always the hardest part. But but there's a lot of talent out there. I mean, Rochelle and Ken and the whole.
Well, you know, everybody says that some of these
Really.
other towns have it in the bag, but they're gonna have a hard time not to,
Yeah.
to ignore the talent that we're gonna bring to the town.
I agree.
So it'll be great. Hopefully it's recorded.
Okay, good. We'll swing over to Mr. Carver.
Okay, we've been working on the budget basically in sewer and municipal, and
We're almost there, right?
we're almost there. Yeah,
We are there.
We are there, yes. But
It's introduced.
it's introduced, yes. And that all the rest is progress.
Okay, simple enough. Mr. Lowenstein, anything else exciting? I see the fountain working, Mr. Lowenstein.
Yes, I see that, that's very good. I'm driving by it occasionally.
Okay.
And, occasionally.
Did they do anything different this time, or is it just
It hasn't
cross our
crossed
fingers?
our fingers, I think, still.
He's coming after you.
Well, the spraying happened, right?
Yeah, they already treated it. It was clogged for 2 weeks. We had a lot of debris, so forth. It was shut down yesterday morning with the rain, but reset it and came right back on. So we're clear.
Okay. I'm gonna let Mr. Lowenstein go next then. So we're gonna let you go right now. You were done?
Yeah, I'm done.
Yeah. So Harry, you can just keep going.
Coming
Literally your
up-
list.
Coming up, we have June 4th, we have the Illusion Maker under our Clean Community and Recycle Grant money. We're having a environmental program at the school. So we'll be at both schools, 9 o'clock and 9:45 on that day. On that, do have quotes in for us to talk about with the easements that we went over. The other thing is the Chestnut Avenue roadway at broke apart. There's nothing there.
What happened on Chestnut Avenue?
What?
There's no road. There's concrete and everything else, and the concrete went up in the air, blocked the roadway off
Wait.
and so forth.
What?
What happened on
I
Chestnut
think
Avenue?
else go out.
I must have missed this. What happened on Chestnut?
I didn't
I didn't
see
see
an
it.
email.
During the rainstorm?
One, part of the part where asked for the surveying is what's the delineation of what roadway and so forth. And it's a hodgepodge of concrete. It's not an asphalt road.
So you're talking about as Chestnut comes up to Garden Terrace, where the two
Yeah,
meet.
where the two meet.
Where the two meet, we don't know where the street is.
Well, it goes, continues up, there's 4 houses,
Yes.
okay, and there's no road.
Right,
It's there.
Well, it hasn't been a road there for 65 years.
right,
Okay.
right, right,
On the
yeah.
tax map, it's showing a road.
This could be a road without that being big.
It can be a road without.
You have a sewer line and you have a gas line going up the road, and then what happened was, trash truck went to get the recycling,
And something.
and as it came out, the concrete went everywhere and blocked the road from any access getting to the top of the
So how did you
house.
fix it?
We pulled out several pieces of concrete and we stoned it for now,
Okay.
but it needs to be addressed.
Can you back a concrete truck in and fill the hole in with concrete?
Did the truck come out?
It's
Yeah, truck's going.
Okay.
The road is probably 10 foot wide now. It's just approaching there's a hillside washing into it, there's another one coming into it, and
Yes.
everything else, it's just coming closer, closer, and closer. So we need direction on what's
Is there any
going on.
stormwater over there? No, there's no storm.
No, everything just runs right down.
So that's part of this other easement. Did we approve that to get
No.
those storms done? Okay, was that in the budget to do the easements?
It wasn't anything, it was just a survey.
Excuse me, the survey?
Survey to lay it out to see what it
The
was.
surveys were part of some discussion.
Yeah, one was approved, one was
What was the one that was approved?
for a pump
The
station.
pump station. Okay.
Can you regenerate that quote?
Just check.
There's been a good time.
We don't need ODOT.
Hey, wait.
Can you?
Yes. What was final quote?
6'5", bottom 10.
You didn't text me.
5 north.
6'5", bottom of the 10. So does that mean the pitching got really blown up, or what do you do for the next game?
I don't know.
When's the next, when's the championship?
Well, they got Colin, another kid.
Oh, they got Colin.
Yeah.
So he can start, it's a championship. Wow.
When is that? Don't know, probably Thursday, I would think.
Circle it, please, when you ready.
Friday?
That might be an old one.
We're gonna let Mr. Rich jump in just briefly, just like the old ball about Forest Avenue.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
So
Friday.
that's where you're heading the survey.
I think I did correct all that.
So let me just say, Mr. Rosak was just speaking about that we have some issues on Chestnut. Are you aware of the problem on Chestnut?
Chestnut.
Where the concrete, the road deteriorated and came apart.
Oh, okay.
We'll have to go take a look at
Yeah.
it. But we need to get a survey so we know where the road is. But the survey for Forest had already been approved.
Okay.
So you had called me, it's ironic, the survey, he had called me about Forest Avenue because baseball's doing well now. And there's a little argument that we have a lot of land right there to maybe help. You want to go on and just say what you were saying?
Well, I actually met with Harry today,
Oh.
just because I wanted to make sure it was
I
doing
think
it
so.
before going any forward. And he said that he had the survey for Bach to already go out and do that survey.
Ordered.
Yeah.
But we're gonna wait for the survey before we make any decision.
Yeah, we want to see what, because I didn't know the one that lady across the street owns through the street to the dugout.
Really?
Yeah, there's.
Okay, so her property's in irregular
Goes
shape.
in front of the street and then to the fence. At some point, it hits Triton's property.
So we're gonna look at where our property is before we do it. So one of the suggestions for everyone was that the dugout is backed up to this wooded area that the borough has always maintained as part of our Forest Avenue pump station. Part of our plan is to know where our property is, to clean that pump station up, secure that pump station. It's never been secure, right? It's completely wide open. There's no fence around it or anything.
No, the only thing I was the next door neighbor, he said the house was just recently sold the last couple of years.
He put up a fence on one side.
They're asking for a privacy fence on it.
They're putting a privacy fence.
That's why they asked us because the station itself.
Well, they want us to do that. And we've started putting fencing around all our properties. But the question is, where do you put the fence? You know, and do it right. But I think it's a great idea. We could do something that helps the baseball right there and cleans that up a little bit. You know, my son didn't make it to varsity baseball, so I never got a chance to.
We're gonna just move the fence basically and then
That's what I said.
whatever happens, happens.
I don't want to fight with the school again about a damn fence.
Yeah.
So, move the fence and then the guys cut the grass. So do you want to keep going then? And we'll come back?
Other than that, Mr. Dorian wanted to talk about maintenance. Deadline.
You want to talk about that?
Do I want to talk about that? Yeah. I don't want to talk about it. You want to talk about it.
Okay.
Get the mic.
I'm on second.
Who's on first?
All right, well, Mr. Rozunk and I, past couple of days, have been driving around looking at our vacant properties. I think we have, maybe 5 or 6 of them that are
Bad shape.
bad shape. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to drive around, taking a look at them, eyeball them with Harry, and try to get an idea of residents call, they complain, it's a blighted area. Some homes have pools in their backyards that haven't been used for years and years and years, different things. And it's an eyesore. So we're trying to develop a plan, one at a time. We can't make it look beautiful, like build a new house, but what we can do is try to diminish the eyesore. So
You guys have been cutting grass, but we've never cleaned up poles. We've never done stuff
Right.
like that.
You still pay your taxes on this stuff?
yes,
But we had to take that one pool down years and
there's
years
no
ago.
people, it's
Yeah.
lien
We
holder.
took a shit, a garage down, I remember that.
Yeah.
Lien holders.
And any cost associated with
Comes
this
a
work
lien.
will go on as a lien. Correct. So when there is settlement on the home, at some point, we will collect our money back.
But we need a letter from either code enforcement or the construction official to do this stuff, right?
We're working alongside.
Okay, so they have to approve it
We got it.
and defend what we're doing before we go
We
and do
defend
it.
it, notice, and they're giving us those
We
to
are-
clean out the lighting and so forth, remove the structure that's unsafe, sheds and so forth.
We already have one on Denton.
That,
10 back.
That's been done already.
It's been cleaned up, but we still have the building, the shed, the facility in the back.
that one on that part of the road.
Well,
That one's brutal.
we're gonna, the shed, I haven't seen the shed, I saw the property, we drove by it, and the guys did a great job on that. They already worked it out.
Now, we're just gonna continue to
As far as
maintain
the
it.
shed, as far as the shed in the background, I haven't seen it. I don't know whether that's on Harry's list, that's something that we have to do before we can get started on debt. What's the address, 428, 628?
628.
628 Denton.
We saw that natural we were walking.
Yeah.
It was across the street from that lady, had big tall trees out front,
Yeah.
like the arborvitae that grew real tall.
We're gonna leave the trees, because that's the best part.
Okay.
So we're gonna leave those trees, but the back, we're gonna take the deck, there's a deck that's, if somebody, the kids or somebody.
I just don't want to spend money that we're not going to get the money back, right?
Is there a 6-foot fence or fence we can lock?
Because people can argue things,
Right.
lock
The
certain
wooden
things,
fence,
or do certain
Well, you
things.
get notice.
You know, as long as we get 10-day notice.
We've already done it. It's already together. We're gonna
I
try
try
to
to get why people are paying tax on property they just can't.
I know that our numbers of vacants are down because we do have that registry that we get, and we get a fee for the list of people who are doing it, and that's what this money's supposed to be spent on. So the money that we're getting from some of this registry, we're supposed to do code enforcement and use it to do this kind of stuff, so.
How many houses do you have?
It's not the same choice, you got what was, the last was it 30?
Six.
Was it that many?
One.
That last, but it even includes houses that look good, and you can't tell they're
It
vacant.
was 65, 70.
But it's not only vacant,
It was down to the low 30s.
I think so.
it's it's houses in foreclosure.
It's houses in foreclosure. Even if they're in foreclosure and they're not in bad shape, you still get a vacant house fee.
Right.
Okay.
Right, but there's like 5 or 6 that
That are
are
real bad.
really low, and we're going to.
Well, if code deems them dangerous.
Well, that's construction. Construction would say it's unsafe, but that's a heavy threshold to say that the house gets torn down.
Not the whole house, just like the sheds.
Oh, yeah.
Stuff
We've
that
done
can
that.
handle should trump cutting grass and all
Yes.
stuff like that.
It's like the house we took down on Bassett.
Yes. Yeah. But you're talking about more property maintenance issues. Sheds, pools, grass, trees.
Broken windows.
Oh, broken windows.
Gutters fall off the
Yeah.
house.
Oh, really?
Listen, years ago, we addressed a situation with boarded windows.
Right, we did.
Anytime we board a window, we
Send
paint
Ken
it
over
black
here.
and we kind of make it look like a window with the panes and all that.
Try that on Bassett. Then
Yeah,
we
we
tore the
did.
house down.
Yeah.
So
we
it's
did do
not
that.
just wood.
Put it in our newsletter.
Call Ken.
You remember that? We did, we painted the windows, we tore the house down.
Before, before.
And then we'll
No,
He's expensive,
I thought that would be a good
you
idea.
know. like, well,
All right, because I have 7 items already. The longer I sit here, the more I remember. Do you have anything else?
No, I
Mr.
didn't
Watson?
have anything before Harry.
Volunteer.
Thank you.
Well, we're going late.
All right.
He said he's got 7 things.
Did you have anything, Linda?
That's
We'll just
Well,
go.
actually, the only thing that we haven't already discussed is that, just generally, Dan's working on language with Jim on the DPW project, and there's a meeting, I don't know if you got a chance.
Yeah.
Oh, final ratification, DPW and
Final
CWA.
language.
Okay.
There's a meeting Thursday.
Okay, yeah,
I don't know if you got to.
we did talk about it.
Okay,
So
So it
that's it.
should be the last meeting,
and that's done.
and that's done. I had a meeting with Dan last week, just to reorganize.
And this is Raphael, represents the 2
Raphael,
units.
he's a very nice man. He's a good-
Okay, and we're going to turn it over to the engineer, and then I'll have my items.
How do you spell Schisler?
CSCHISLE. No C?
Does it have 2 S's or one?
I spelled wrong around the actual street sign are spelled
Mitchell.
Mitchell spelled
Yes.
Spelled wrong, too.
It's
Does it have 2 S's? Because you have 2 S's in it everywhere, and I thought it was only 1 S.
Well, it's on our application with the DOT, so it's Schisler with whatever it's spelled. We got our 375,000.
This is an old one.
Mr. Bayshore.
You know why I know?
Thank you.
It's not the back, but I'll go over with him.
Go on, speak loud.
I submitted my report in writing, and I'll just go over anything that's changed since last month under general engineer. There's nothing new. Municipal building upgrades, we're working with the construction code official, and I guess we have some revisions to do based on some of his comments for the permitting. The 2019 road program, I've got to get together with the engineering committee and Harry and come up with a priority, because to do everything was going to be $800,000, and you don't have that much allocated, so we have to come up with what's going to be the base bid and the alternates. And I also want to talk about some trees that look like it's growing over the curb. Do you want to take those trees down, or use tree plates, or just leave the curb? But the application is to replace curb throughout the project limits. So I
And it
saw-
should be replaced, the curb should be replaced. I think the way to do that, guys, was we got 375 from the DOT, we're putting 125 our own, that gives us 500,000. If, if we can assume we're gonna get DOT to finish this phase next year, either we front the money with a bond anticipation note and do it as an ad alternate, so that maybe we do the whole job at once. if it comes in at a good number, right? If you do a larger job, hopefully the number comes down a little bit. I don't know.
It's not coming from 800 down to 500.
I didn't say that, but we can always do a bond anticipation note if the number comes in good, we could
We
borrow.
already have, we've
one
already
S.
dedicated the amount for.
Yeah, the 125 for this month, yes.
Okay. All right, so I'll work with the engineering committee and Harry on things like that. Nothing new. Singley Avenue emergency repairs at Lambert completed. I have the pay app in, so we're going to be processing that. There is a change order that we had. When we put it out to bid, we had an add alternate to replace the last section of pipe that went out to the stream. When we got under construction, Harry was out there with me, and the pipe was deteriorated. So the decision was made to replace that.
All the way to the stream?
We're using the unit cost per the, there's going to be a $3,900 change order. So I'm hoping to get that on next week's agenda.
But we eliminated the speed bump, or that was a different, that's a different, so I'm conflating two Singley Avenue projects.
That is.
It's
yeah,
South Jersey
it's South
gas.
Jersey gas.
South Jersey gas.
This was Lambert.
So this is Lambert only, Singley Avenue, all the way down to the water.
Right, so I'm going to try and get a change order on next week's agenda.
Okay.
And speaking of next week, because it's a Wednesday, Steve Bach will probably be here instead of me.
Okay.
Just to let you know. The elimination of septic systems on Davis Road, we're trying to come up with a cost estimate for budgeting purposes. Last time we reported that we could not use gravity to get to your current pump station, so now we're looking at putting in a small pump station on one of the dead end streets. I'm not sure if it's Sunnybrook or the other street that runs parallel, but we're trying to come up with cost estimates so you can get infrastructure or trust funding on that.
Did you see that letter from CCMUA? Did you see that email I sent it to Steve? Just to let you know, CCMUA did reiterate the fact that if the sewers are installed to replace septic systems, that CCMUA will waive those fees. Those fees at this point are about $5,000 or $6,000. So they want this to happen. But it's only for 1 year. It was a 12-month window.
The Black Horse Pike traffic study, trying to get Dave Shropshire to come into the engineering committee meeting so he can explain what the report actually says in layman's terms as opposed to the traffic engineering gobbledygook that's in the report. And so
This morning, I sat 10 minutes coming from my house trying to cross Black Horse Pike.
I had this conversation with
10 minutes.
That's short.
They can't say that alternate pipes was working.
now what their study is showing.
They're nuts.
The 2018 road program on Reed, Sisler Circle, Phillips Avenue, DOT did not waive core waiver request. We had to drill holes in the road and have the asphalt tested. So we are pre-quoting that process so we can close out that job.
We always do this.
If you're less than 5,000 square yards, you can ask for a waiver. Because we did the entire project, we're over 5,000 square yards.
Because we went bigger, it's cost us money.
Yeah.
And I tried to say, well, CDBG is paying for part of it, the part that DOT is paying for is less than 5,000 square. They did not buy that. So they're making us.
I like that.
Yeah, I think that's a good argument.
I tried.
I think that's a good argument.
It's like $1,500, but
It's a waste of $1,500.
And then you get holes in your street that is basically cold patch with asphalt. So we always try and get it waived, but unfortunately we couldn't because of the size of the project. The ADA hallway and elevator project here at Borough Hall, our office is working with Jim and the front office trying to get resolutions and everything to get.
It's already done.
It's already done. So with CCIA,
Is this
CDB, to get CDBG reimbursement.
To get the 150,000,
I
27,000.
met with Tracy, she came to the borough on Friday, I handed all of the documents.
So we're gonna get our money.
Okay, awesome. Very good. Thanks, Jim. Appreciate that. Nothing new on the master plan or the redevelopment study. Nothing new there. Deluxe Bakery. The curbs installed, they submitted a payment application. I was aware of a $2,300 change order that was already approved. They were trying to get another change order for driveways.
Why?
That's why I'm asking you. Was anything,
I know nothing about change of driveways.
the borough was not doing any driveway, we were doing the curb.
We gave approval to increase the sidewalk. We gave a purchase order, correct, Mr. Anderson?
Go get some
Mr. Anderson did a PO
Okay.
to increase it.
I just wanted to confirm, it just came in
Mr.,
over the weekend.
his name is Mr. Anderson. Mr. Anderson,
What are we talking about?
K Concrete,
Yeah.
we did a change order to increase the sidewalk to get to the ice,
Yes.
the ice place.
We
But that was it. Now he's saying there's a change order for driveways. Driveways were not part of our
I
scope.
just wanted to confirm that, so I know where we stand and I will process.
The work that was separated, the borough was curbs, and only that sidewalk would we decide to do to blend with the neighbor.
I remember.
That was it.
Okay, just wanted to confirm.
Interior curbs and driveways were the applicant.
Correct, I just
How
wanted
much
to.
is he asking for?
Who's asking?
Cape Concrete submitted an invoice and they included a driveway. I think it was $4,800, but I don't know. But I reached out to them to try and find out what it was for. I just wanted to confirm.
Did they do the driveway?
They did it.
But it wasn't part of our scope.
It's not our scope. That was part
We
that was
made
wrong.
it, we have a little red line that says
Yeah.
curb here.
So,
Yeah, get
that's
that-
all.
get
I just
that.
want to get confirmation on that.
But Mark doesn't trust me 100%, so he had to ask it at the meeting.
Get that.
Correct Mundo. And Dunkin' Donuts, so on May 6th, we recommended a TCO because all the safety-related items were okay, and we're just waiting for the CO to do all the plans. And that's everything I have.
Okay, well, I'll go quick, hopefully. Okay, so here's the issues I need to make everybody aware of.
Okay, let's go.
Cooper Urgent Care will become Cooper Primary Care. Joyce, what was the dates again? It closes at the beginning of this month and reopens next month.
I thought it was really not until September.
Oh, man, I don't know if I can wait.
I think it's June.
I think it is June.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah, but I closed for 3 weeks.
You put it on our borough page?
of the store, no construction? No construction. What they're doing is, the urgent care wasn't as successful as they wanted to be. They want to become primary care. But they may still have some, because there's a lab in there and stuff like that. It has nothing to do with, it's still permitted use. But they just wanted us to be aware, so that the public knew that it wasn't closing, that it was simply, they were just changing their repurposing. Okay. There's a new manager at Wawa that Mr. Sampolsky introduced me to, and she wants to be much more involved in the community. I know you had reached out to the previous manager through your project. I talked to her about the backboards, and obviously that's supporting the local youth athletics. She seems to have a much different attitude towards maybe being more involved for 2 purposes. 1, to be involved, and then 2, to understand what's going on in the town. So for her example to Mr. Sampolsky and myself was, had she known about opening day, she might have staffed her people differently. So she just wants to be more involved with us, knowing what's going on. You know, obviously we're going to close the plaque respect for 4th of July. Of course, the police department's going to make people aware, but it might be an opportunity, like she would have donated waters to the Memorial Day function. I told her about the Wawa had donated the backboards years ago down at Green Acres. Maybe, she says, well, we'd be interested in that. So she's got a little different perspective. Jennifer. Very nice.
August 5th,
Okay,
reopen.
the reopening August 5th. Speaking of grand openings, Dunkin' Donuts is grand opening, I believe, is on June 1st. I'll send everybody an email. They want to do a little ribbon cutting, to promote this. I've asked we're looking for some press on this that basically say that Runnemede now has its first drive-through in a while, so hopefully we get a little bit of, something.
And what is that, what's
I don't know how we say it positively and say, well, for 40 years we didn't do it for some reason, but now, because of, trash. So June 1st, but I'll give you guys the exact date. So I don't know if I should let this all out, but they're giving the first 50 people, I'll be getting free stuff and stuff like that.
Well, I love free stuff. Craig will be there, he'll be first.
We'll be there, we gotta bring the scissors then.
He's gonna.
They did ask me to bring scissors. I think, Joyce, we have big scissors, right, somewhere? Yeah, big scissors. We got a silver shovel. We don't need to dig it.
What time is that?
That's only for the redevelopment. And it'll be
You're
done.
done. Oh, you don't know yet? Oh, you should know.
The new fire truck came in. Did anybody go down and look at it?
Yes.
No, I did
Yes.
not.
Did you look at it? If you get a chance, go down and look at it. They're stocking it right now.
Did you take it for a ride?
What is it?
It's an apparatus.
Squad.
I call it a fire truck.
It's a squad.
It's a fire truck. It cost $800,000. That the old truck is actually already part of the alliance. It got moved out of the garage and is down in Belvoir. And we're just waiting for the other towns to sign the agreement where any repairs to that vehicle will be split between the 4 communities. That's great.
They're still loading the squad.
And they're loading the new one, but it's, I think, very positive. They took out the old ice box that was in there. That's gone. They needed the room. The new truck is longer and bigger and things like that. So the new fire truck's in, the old truck is in Belmar. Mr. Wozniak did not bring up the John boat, so I'll bring up the John boat. So one of the thoughts, did you have any opinion on the John boat?
I was doing some investigating on the job.
All right, so here's a thought. Here's a thought that was approached to me, because one of the wish lists from the fire department was to have access to the waterways, obviously to Hirsch Lake and to Timber Creek. We've talked about access for a while. So the other problem we had is the fountain constantly getting clogged. So one thought that was thrown out there was a John boat would be a simple something that could be used for many purposes. You know, you could, Public Works could use it. It could be primarily Public Works to go out there, maybe clean the fountain if it does get dirty. And it could also be used as any kind of just another access boat to get onto the waterways. I still don't think it fixes our problem about having access to the waterways. I still think that our final plan, I think we're all agreeing, is that we're hoping to put a boat ramp at the park. So there's parking down there, there's access down there, we can maybe even keep it open to the public. But at this point, I'd like us to...
At that cul-de-sac?
At the cul-de-sac, what I'd like to see is Public Works cut the barrier back, put a chain there so that both all our safety will be able to get to that. I don't think we should make it access to the public right now because we don't have the ramp. But if the police department or the fire department needs to get down there.
Or the parking with the trailers.
There'll be more room down there too.
Yeah.
If we decide to make it public, there might be more room. I know that Hirsch is nice, but we don't want to have a bunch of cars in front of somebody's house and things like that at 2 o'clock.
I already talked to Pat. It's only for the fire department. And
Well-
the cheapest way to do it. It aggravates me. I had freeholders pay for it for 4
Well, I wasn't around with that, so.
Oh, no.
I was.
Well, you know of them told me. They would get all the permits and they give you all the money they need. But you actually.
Well, more likely we're gonna end up doing down the Green Acres. And Hirsch Lake, we still need to have better access to the lake. You agree with that?
Well, they have access to it down the hill. It just needs to be tightened up and cleaned up. It just needs to flow better, that's all.
Okay.
But we need to tell the Black Lagoon that they can do that.
Come down that-
He's still going down the cliff.
Did you hear that? That the guy who's doing the work on the lake constantly goes down the cliff and
You
stays
don't,
back?
you don't go back to the trail. He
He's
goes
back there on
down,
Rowan and,
he lifts that boat over the rail and
Oh, my
then it goes
God.
down.
If he wants to fight and do it, he's been
Yeah,
told where to go.
yeah.
he's been told to take it back
And
down?
he's been down there, yes.
Okay, so you can see
That's how
that
they brought in the screen thing.
when they came to
That
another.
fact, yeah.
Okay. So the John boat, and they're not expensive. They're anywhere between
Yeah.
$600 and $1,000, from what I understand. I'm not saying this is the answer, I'm throwing it out there. Because if you want me to go, I'll paddle out there every day. We're not getting rid of the fountains.
We can't get a motor?
No way. The problem with the motor is you now need a trailer.
John
boat,
knows
you
how
can
to
let-
fix it.
How about electric?
He's been.
Got a row out there.
Electric motor.
You think they're light enough?
They're definitely, they're
Oh, yeah.
small tanks with the batteries.
Okay. I just think that we've made this commitment with this fountain, we've made this commitment to try to maintain this lake. I'm not saying you're wrong, that we need to do more, but to keep the fountain going is more aesthetics, and there's a bigger purpose. You know, we did something, we can't give up on something.
Can I just chime in? Because I've never seen where the clock is for that. And I've heard that when you shut it off, all the sediment settles off.
Sometimes.
If there's a clock there,
Yes.
and you could put the trip pins, the on and off, it should go on and off.
No, it's not like that.
It's not like that?
It's all digital. The timers.
Does the digital allow to turn it on and off
Several times.
several times a day to drop this stuff? We talked about
It
that.
would have to be programmed. It's probably like only three times on and off.
You can do 3.
I'd have to look at it.
But now you said Black
You
Lagoon
gotta
wanted
look
to
at
keep
it.
running though.
Yes.
The people who are maintaining our lake say it should run constantly.
Here's the thing.
Area.
Here's the thing.
But I agree with you.
If you shut it off just for 10 minutes, 15 minutes, and it's that long, all that crap will come off, it'll start. And if you do that 3 or 4 times a day, or however many times it lets you shut it off for 15, 20 minutes, that may be enough to resolve the issue. I'd like to see it with Harry, maybe he can take us to it.
Unless there's a bag, but that only happens, you know.
You know, if you turn it
A
off.
bag, you're done, your bag is
If it gets stuck in there.
We'll know tonight.
Well, unless there's a bag, but it'll probably resolve 80% of the problem.
Sounds good.
Take me to it.
It's getting sucked in. There's so much suction.
Over a year.
Don't come out, really.
That's how much. You saying fish get caught in
I
it?
don't fish it.
Fish, grass? Okay, so last thing, fencing girls softball, I know you didn't report on it, but just so everybody knows that the additional work is going to be done down at the girls softball
Yes.
to do for the smaller fields for the little girls, the dugouts that protects them from foul balls. I don't know if we have any kind of time frame on that, but hopefully it gets done sooner than later.
Yeah, because I'm still waiting for the back gate.
The netting's still not up.
Back order, yeah.
Okay, but we did give approval for that, and that got done, so I want to thank that we're getting all that done. And the last thing I have is Sports Depot, the VFW. The gentleman called me up, and he's in the middle of refinancing his property. So the assessor did his work, Ms. Pinto helped me find this. It is 6.04. Supposedly, these lots were never consolidated, which I'm surprised, because the planning board should have required all these lots to be consolidated after the...
They all owned by one person?
They're owned by one person.
They are consolidated.
Well, say no. I want to hear you say that they're not consolidated.
Okay, they're not consolidated.
Okay, so what they're willing to do is, the bank is willing to, as long as this is a separate lot, 6.04, the bank is willing to release this lot to the borough. So for nothing, basically $1, the borough would take it over. We no longer would provide insurance for the VFW park to the Sports Depot. I just need the legal part of this done so they can sign the deed, turn it over to the borough, because it's hurt us for a couple of years now to get money for to fix it. There you go.
But, so when you send me some more information, like who owns this now?
Joyce, can you help out with that? So basically, they've offered to us to give us this land, because right now, it's already our park anyway. It's the VFW park, we've been maintaining all these years, but the fact that we can't borrow the NL park, we can't win any open grants because we don't own the underlying ground. So he's willing to give it to us.
Who owns it now?
The Sports Depot.
And a City.
They have a Benapol, B-E-N.
So it's some sort of, look like.
It's an LLC, an entity that owns it.
And now they just want to give this, they don't want.
They want to give it to us.
Okay.
They don't want anything,
Give me the particulars, I'll get the federal search, we'll do it.
because the park's there already. And we just basically rented from them for $1. And that's all I got.
All right.
There are some drawings here for the Scout building, if everyone wants to take a brief look at the ideas. This is something the council needs to weigh out. This is another, the Scouts want to give us the property if we maintain the property. But our engineers basically said to us that it's a huge liability. So the only way for us to even consider this is if we took it over, we'd have to rebuild everything.
They're going to give it us, but they're going to use it?
Yes.
Such a deal.
We don't, it don't have to be like historic or anything? Save anything? A wall?
What's the logic? Okay, the logic is that the borough has supported this Scout organization for as long as anybody can remember. The property is adjacent and is blended into the Girl Scouts property. So you can't. Girl Softball. So you can't separate them. So what happens is Girl Softball has activities. It's one big complex, look at it that way. So the thought process that we have at this point is to make the girls softball building is collapsing. The Scout building is collapsing. So if we were to tear both buildings down and build one new building that would house both entities, bring it up to ADA compliancy, maybe that would help us out with community block grant funding, recreation funding, those kind of things. And then we could also alleviate some of the parking issues. Because if we reposition the building in such a way, on days where there's games, right, the parking flows out all over the place. So that would also help us out, I think, down there.
Who owns it then?
It's owned by the Scouts themselves. So we had a title search done. The lawyer representing the Scouts did the title search. came back, and I don't recall the details, but it's owned by the organization. The organization is just a group of people. They're willing, they don't have the means to keep it going. They pay no taxes currently. Because I wasn't around in the 70s when all this happened.
You know, I mean, listen, if they're a charity, but a lot of times these things get incorporated as not-for-profits in which they should be paying taxes. Anyway, so
We're past that.
It costs them something, right? They have to do some maintenance of the building.
They have to maintain the building.
So if we take the property and we may have to do something that we're going to rebuild it, we're going to give them access to it.
Yes.
So they're going to pay something.
Or they'll pay operating expenses, or something to that effect. Yeah. Something like that.
So we're-
They still have, you're right, they're 100%, they have to have skin in the game, they have to maintain. They got to pay.
Right now, they're paying the oil heat, so anything that we can do is going to be worth.
We're actually even helping and assisting.
Can I answer the question? How often do they get together?
Every single day.
Yeah, it's every day.
365 days a year.
They have a meeting every day?
They have an activity every
So
day.
we couldn't include them in like the senior center?
They could
They-
include it in some activities.
They've already done that, they've already been there.
There were times when there were
On the
elections
child
there.
power.
Do you remember the elections?
First of all, John, it's
The
not the
VFW.
senior center. It's the Harry Williams Senior Center.
Excuse me.
It's not senior center.
It could be, you're right, there could be potential. There were times when that building was used for borough activities. There were elections out there, things like
Why
that.
spend all this money?
Why spend the money? I think it's an asset that the borough has, that there's no, it's one of those things where, remember we always talk about people coming to us? It's one of the few things that groups all around come to Runnemede to be part of this scouting activity. The fact that Mr. Cook donated all the land, the borough's going to gain 2 or 3 acres of land that we don't currently own. So those 2 or 3 acres have value also. Now, I don't disagree, it's a lot of money. But the way that I look at it is, it would keep this organization running. It would help the girls.
It's more than Runnemede,
It is more than
other townships?
it's from all over. People come from all over.
Yeah.
There are very few scouting letters. Now, don't get me wrong, it is a commitment. I mean, let's be honest. This could be $1 million project. But $1 million project divided over 30 years, it's about $30,000 a year.
Turn it late into something that's going to be beautiful.
Yeah. And it may evolve into something else. I think, if anything we learned by doing upstairs was, we never knew what was going to happen upstairs. But hadn't we done it, would the school board have even considered moving here?
So with the buildings that we have right now, and the scouts needs, we're a little tight. To squeeze it in somewhere would be tough.
There's no place to school.
It's beyond just where the scouts can meet. It's the one thing, something needs to be done with that building.
Right.
Something needs to be done with girls softball building. So.
There's no bathrooms at all.
So now, if you're gonna have girls softball there, you gotta have facilities, ADA facilities. There's no way you're gonna do it at girls softball. So it's
This gives us the
something
land.
that needs to be,
So
if
it's
that
not
wants to
even-
continue down there, it needs to.
Not the public
I
portion.
know, but hurry up and get to the public.
Okay, so it's something to think about, because don't get me wrong, we can only spend so much money. If we spend too much money, then we have to plan where we're gonna spend our money. But, these assets, think about the stuff that we've tried to accomplish. We've got a fire hall that's old and falling apart. We've got a borough building that's now done. We've got a scout building falling apart. We've got a girls softball building falling apart. We've got roads that are falling apart. We've got sewers. I don't have all the answers. We have to make a decision
I
as a
see
group.
God plays in the girls softball and it
Yeah.
helps that whole property, it ties it up. But we're still building it
Yeah.
at Williams, we've got plans there, that's what to make sure.
But even look at this property here, remember, when we started moving forward, a lot of towns don't make these commitments. We got $400,000 to do this building. Why? Because we took the initiative to go out and start to do it. We got 300, what did we get, 250 and 250 for that road project? We paid 100% of the road project through grants. Because we took the initiative to go out and put our own money up and start to do the work. And then we got the funding, because why? None of the other towns had shovel-ready projects and things like that. So these are tough ones, guys. These are real tough.
So, just quick if I may. So if we do this, okay, we need to structure this so that it's our property and we're gonna work, we're gonna allow them to have certain access, not exclusivity.
No, because the girls softball.
Neither one of them are gonna have exclusivity, because there may come time that you need to have something, and that's the best location for you to have it, number one.
But there'd still be an agreement where the use is still the scout use.
You're not trying to throw that.
No,
But
they still get to use it when
But
they
they
need
don't
it.
have the veto power about
there's a reason.
And, you know, we've talked at other meetings over the last couple of years about kind of centralizing coordination of, I'm going to use the word facilities, ball fields, baseball courts, whatever it might be, okay? And this,
Soccer.
yeah, you know, whatever.
All the problems we have, yeah.
You know, I mean, so to literally have that ultimately centralized, so that a person, everything funnels through that person, all scheduling funnels through that person, and, you know, there's no more,
It's okay. I understand.
there's no more pissing matches that, you know, look, you want to play a soccer game on the soccer field, then you've got to give the coordinator the schedule. Okay? If you're not, you know, if you want to come and use the soccer fields when the soccer teams aren't playing, you've got to reach out to the coordinator and get permission. But if it ultimately gets centralized, you'll be able to cross-purpose things as you need them and move things around to accommodate all the groups that you have to try to accommodate.
We're going in that direction. We've been investing since, you know, for how many years now? I agree with you. I'm going to let the public portion, because I think there's a few people who want to speak, and then we'll get back briefly. This portion of the meeting is open to the public. Anyone wishing to speak, please come to the microphone, state your name and address. 3 of you are here. It's like a crowd.
Wow.
No pushing.
Jenny Better, J67 Rambler. So I'm not here regarding the scouting, but as a 35-year member of the community and a 16-year public official in this town, if you don't do that, you lose a sense of community. Scouting, RGSL, that's what makes your community. We can become just a town. We can all just live here and have nothing to have our kids and our grandkids and those generations to come. So it's really important. So if you have 400,000 earmarked, or you think you may, can you just say that?
It's $1 million.
No, the full project.
Yeah.
But that's a good start.
Oh, to get started.
That's a good start. So, in my humble opinion, anything that benefits the community, to make this a true community, you have to put money into it. So fix the fountain. And I don't know what else I heard, but anyway. The reason I'm here, I had a conversation, a very good conversation with Mr. Knight earlier. So I wanted, just coincidentally, I remember that it was the caucus meeting, so I thought, let me just come on the record. So when Mr. Knight speaks to you all, you've heard it from me and I'm on the record. And this is not a situation that's going to be remedied in one conversation, and it's going to take many of us. Crescent Avenue, there was a home many years ago that decided in their infinite wisdom to put in bamboo. This bamboo is now encroaching on 6 houses. I discovered it on my property this Saturday when my son and I were putting in new flowers. And he says, Mom, look at this, it looks like an alien thing. So it came up from the property behind me, under the fence, and it's about 2 feet high right now. And if any of you know about bamboo, it's very hard to kill. So today, I reached out to Keith, and I sent him an email. I also did a video, because on the Rambler Avenue side, it is like a jungle when you look back there. And you'll see this video, because I asked him to forward it to all of you. This afternoon, I drove around and I knocked on the door of the house that I know that started this situation. And that house was empty for a while. The Delviscos lived there for many years.
It's a vacant home at this point?
No, it's a very lovely home at this point. It was an eyesore, it was a mess. But while they were living there, somebody in their infinite wisdom decided to put a shoot, I don't know, scrap, whatever you call it. And this stuff, several years ago, I started to see it, and it was going towards Broadway. Now it's coming in the other direction. So it's a twofold situation. One, I'm sorry, did you have
Pandas. Bring pandas, bring pandas in.
Yes, yes. One, it's not an easy fix. I've talked to a...
Do you have any solutions?
Well...
I've heard of other towns that banned it.
Yes, and that one solution is when you all get information, because obviously you're not just going to rely on my testimony, you need to pass an ordinance that anyone that plants this in their backyard, this is the consequence of the ramification. I'm aware now from talking to the neighbors in my neighborhood, there was an issue on Singley and also on Ferndale. The gentleman that now lives at 874 Crescent, which is where the problem started, very nice man, his name is Joe, actually lived across the street from Sis. He said, oh, I'm really well aware of this. We had a problem on Ferndale. His son, I don't know if his son was the flipper. I couldn't get that out of him. But the house was purchased and flipped. So this gentleman is the renter. His son is the owner. So he did give me his son's phone number, which at 8 o'clock I need to make this phone call, because he needs to contact his homeowner's insurance. This is a huge project. This has to be dug 2 feet into the ground, and every stitch of rooting has to be eradicated, because it will come back again and again and again. So when you see this video, it's my neighbors next door that I took from my deck.
This is directly behind your property or diagonal?
Well, now it's directly behind me. I spoke to Frankie Williams Jr.
Yeah, that's who.
And he's well aware of it, and he'll work with the neighbors. But the house that started it, if you were facing the Williams property, their front door, it's the house to the left. The address is 874. So now, right now, there are 6 homes that are being affected by this. And this stuff will go under your pool, will go, I mean, it just...
Those are right. Yeah, I mean, Keith's been doing a good job with looking at our ordinances. I mean, you know, we can change ordinance, it's an enforcement issue.
So if you're aware of towns that have...
I have, I'm aware of this in other
And
towns.
it's really important because...
So is it an ordinance that they have to consider for bamboo?
Well, it is, it's an ordinance that bans it, and other towns have done this, but then the enforcement becomes another issue, and how do you, once again, it's public
Until
works,
someone
we
like
have to backhoe
me,
and
until
dig up.
someone like me comes forward
Yeah.
and brings it, and this is why I'm doing this, and this is what I told to the gentleman, Joe. Now you're on the record. I am at your front door, I'm telling you, your nuisance weed, bamboo, is now causing property damage at my house. And I'm not going to just sit here idly by. And now we have 6 neighbors that are being affected, and 2 neighbors that aren't affected, but live, I don't know what direction that would be, like
North?
towards Smith versus Broadway.
It's south.
They came out last night because they seen this thing from their backyards growing in my yard, and they're like, oh my, I said, please, don't even talk to me about it. So, you know, I had a good conversation with Mr. Knight. I sent him a video. I talked to the property owner, quasi, because that's his son that owns it. And,
So they fixed the property up and they're getting ready to sell it?
no, the property was sold a couple years ago.
Okay.
And the people that, so I don't know if the son was the flipper. The father wouldn't
Okay.
put that out there. Doesn't matter.
But it's something that has to be looked
It
at.
has to be looked at because it's going to keep
Okay. So did you file a formal complaint with?
Keith. Well, I sent him an email and I told him,
Well, that's a formal complaint.
and he said, can
That's
I
a
use your
complaint.
name? I said, of course you can use my name.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's something we've been trying to fix little things like this. And
Well, and now that I know that it was in Ferndale and on Singley.
yeah, there's some on Sunset, there's Sunset too, so.
Yeah, so it's become a nuisance. So unless you put it in a concrete
If you keep
barrier.
cutting the grass, it just, you just cut it, it just actually does cut.
It's tight.
Yeah,
It spreads under the ground.
Yeah.
You have to
There's
put,
rosons, you need to put like a
you have to
30
put a
foot.
hard surface
Yeah, you have it
down,
on your
You need to put a
corner.
fence.
down 2 feet, past
Yeah.
2 feet, so it can't.
That's right.
Yeah.
From with the little research that I did, that's kind
It's the only way
of.
to protect it.
Yes, it's the only thing to do.
Sorry you had to come out, I know it's raining out there, Jenny. so
I
you
know,
might
I
wanna
heard it.
Hang
Heard it,
out.
but no, I have to make that phone call, but it was good
Okay.
seeing everyone and
Thank you for coming.
thanks for the progress.
All right, thank you.
See you, Jenny.
Anyone else?
My question regards...
Your name and address?
Lil Bratton, 43 State. My question regards recent marijuana legalization in the state. I'm sure you all know that the legalization bill failed. Last week, there was the decriminalization bill that also failed. My question is about municipal decriminalization and how the council and mayor feel about that, and if that's something that we have or will consider now, since legalization will not happen for another 2 years.
I don't think that's a jurisdiction that we can.
We don't have jurisdiction.
It can happen in any municipality.
Well, we could pass it, but it'd be unenforceable.
I mean,
The police
Yeah,
would be
the police
required by
are-
Attorney General.
It's unenforceable.
police can also choose not to enforce it.
That's cool.
Is that something the police is willing to do?
If you want to ask the question, how do we feel? I think our council was very for the idea of all these bills that were coming out. I think majority of them we thought were positive. I know personally I was disappointed that the original bill didn't pass. I understand why the second bill didn't pass. I think it became a little more complicated when you just took one aspect of it. I hope it'll come back around. I think it's going to be on the ballot. I think it's a shame.
I know, it's
But
gonna be
it's
in
going
the
to take another
next
year,
years.
but we'll have to wait and see.
And I feel like in the interim, there's going to be affected communities. Tomorrow, there is a community cannabis forum up in Edison at the coffee house. It's the inimitable NJ Weedman is actually speaking there as a keynote, and I suggest that.
It's an interesting keynote speaker.
Yeah.
Some of us went to a,
The Coffee House, I believe is the name of the restaurant. It's in Edison.
but some of us went to the Camden County Mayor's Association had a nice little meeting. They went over it. There were all different sides were there. It was very positive to hear everything. It's just a shame that the state wasn't able to.
I attended a similar
Move
forum
somewhere.
down in Cumberland County College. A lot of that is focused on the corporate aspect or the fundraising aspect, rather than the racial justice aspect.
Well, that was it. Well, I disagree. The one that the Camden County Mayor's Association, that was a big part of it, was the decriminalization. The way I look at it, even in our community, our officers are spending a lot of time on something maybe they don't have to spend time on, and maybe focus on something else. And, so.
I would suggest that if you can't make it to Edison tomorrow, that you find an audio recording of NJ Weedman, just listen to him speak. I think he
What's his
is
name?
NJ Weedman at Fortune.
It's got a little past.
He runs a place called NJ Weedman's Joint, which is a restaurant right across from the state.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thanks.
You
You gotta come up. Come on up. We're gonna make you come up. You showed up.
You don't have any consideration procedures.
Oh, come on.
We obviously,
I'm not. 10 Brooks, 11 First Avenue. After the Acme and Drayton, did you forget to do the last resolution?
And this one.
Those things were not to be done tonight.
Oh, I didn't know. I mean, there was one through, and then you got the discussion, and there was one more.
Well, there were three that they decided to act on tonight. These were generally discussions about what we're going to do next week.
Yeah, I think
But
council.
the three of them had for time-sensitive issues.
Yeah, we'll do it at the council meeting.
The other ones.
The last one that you didn't read,
Right.
Which one are you saying?
disable that.
Oh, yeah, but we'll do it at the meeting.
Okay, no, I mean, I didn't know what was going on, so I said.
Yeah, no. When Joyce puts a,
You didn't do it.
no, when Joyce puts like a 1958, she would put 1960. It didn't have to be done tonight.
Okay,
We do it at the,
just curious.
okay, no problem. Okay, any more? Anyone else in the public? Seeing no one else, there a motion to close the public portion.
I'll second that.
Motion by Mr. Root, second by Ms. Passio, all in favor? All right, public portion is closed.
We have to do the payment of bills.
I was getting there. Payment of bills, is there a motion to pay the bills?
I make a motion.
Motion by Mr.
I'll
Root,
second,
second by Mr. Ranieri. Roll call, please.
Mr. Ranieri.
Yes.
Mrs. Kelly. Okay. Mrs. Passio.
Yes.
Mr. Robinson.
Yes.
Mr. Root.
Yes.
And Mr. Farrell.
Yes.
So what are we at now, 5 ayes? Again, 5 ayes. Paid bills should be paid. Is there anything else? Is there a motion to adjourn?
I make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second the motion.
Motion by Mr. Root, second by Ms. Passio. All in favor?
I want to go.
All right, we are adjourned.
I'm hungry.
7:41.